a couple of pages to page 15, you get a balance sheet. So at year end, September 30th, there is approximately $12.8 million of cash and investments on hand. You do have payables for funds that have been earned by the grantees that just had not been dispersed as of year end, because of course, a lot of those requests come in after year end for those funds. So about $1.2 million of payables, and the difference is the fund balance. So about $11.4 million in fund balance. Some portions of that are assigned or committed to various things. Approximately $8.5 million is available for any operation within your purpose restriction. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk much about the accrual basis statements, and I'm not, except that I will acknowledge that the primary item that is not on these statements is the long-term obligation for the Florida retirement system. Okay, so by virtue of being a member, there is a $770,000 allocated obligation for the Florida retirement system. Doesn't mean a lot in terms of this year or next year. It just means your funding contribution will keep creeping up as it has been. Maybe more than creeping here lately. It's gone up pretty healthily in the last year as you pay that down. Now, for that obligation is up quite a bit over last year because, like everybody else, Florida retirement system didn't have a great investment year. Right? Stocks did bad this past year. Bonds did bad this past year. So the funded ratio is down. When that happens, your obligation rises. So last year it was $167,000, but between the funding performance and the fact that your payroll has grown, has driven those numbers up. So your proportionate share has grown a little bit. Okay. All right. So that's the numbers. Any questions on the numbers? And I'll talk briefly about some of our reports in back. Okay. What follows the numbers are the notes to the financial statements. These describe the various accounting policies that you use. All are customary for an organization such as yourself. And then we get back to what is page 41. And we get into some more letters we issue in accordance with an audit. Now, these are clean, so they're not going to take long to go over, but I'll touch on each of them. The first letter is in accordance with government auditing standards. So this is where if we had issues with any of your processes over how you gather and report financial information, we would report it here, or if we had any issues with how you expended funds, not in compliance with state statute or your own policies, we would report that here. We had no findings of that nature. So all of that is clean. The next letter is the management letter that's required by the Auditor General of the state of Florida. It requires that we cover various items. This letter is clean. There are no non-customary items to report. So the Auditor General just requires that we cover a laundry list of items to comply with Florida statute. The next letter is an investment of public funds letter. So Florida statute requires that you prioritize security of funds over rate of return. And so this letter indeed indicates that your investment policies comply with that requirement. So another one we're required to issue in Florida on a governmental entity audit. And then the final letter is a communication letter with those charged with governance. So this letter is designed to communicate things that might not be readily apparent in the financial statements themselves to you as the governing body. The first page there deals with new accounting items that we implemented this year. We did implement a new accounting standard that deals with lease accounting, but it had no effect on you really. So it really is a non-factor for you. The next section deals with estimates. So not everything in these financial statements is known historic fact. There are various estimates. The biggest estimate is the pension liability I mentioned to Florida retirement system. That thing will probably move around substantially from year to year. It has traditionally done that as investment performance varies. Other estimates are the OPEB liability that you're required to provide in accordance with Florida statutes and compensated absence for your employees, your PTO time. The other items are clean in terms of there weren't issues, but the letter goes into, do we have any difficulties in the audit? Do we have any corrected significant errors that we detected as a result of the audit? Any disagreements with management? We don't have any of those types of items. I will say that obviously this process was a little bit delayed as we were working with your outside accountants to sort of get the audit finished. But other than that, there were no significant issues with accuracy of the financial records or controls or processes. And then finally, next year, we'll be working with management to implement a new accounting standard that deals with subscription-based IT. So this is all your information technology these days is subscription-based. You don't buy it anymore. And so there's an accounting standard that deals with how we report on those things. So we may record an asset and an obligation for subscription to software liabilities. But anyway, in total, I would characterize the audit as having gone very well. And I'm happy to answer if you have any questions about the audit or the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Whiteside. Any board members have any questions, any comments? Member Cornell.
No, I was just going to thank Diana and staff for getting through it. I know it's the first year getting through the audit and it's never fun, but thank you for all your work, and I'd move approval of the audit report.
Okay, been moved by member Cornell, second by member Labarta. Any public comment on the audit report as presented? Any?
And thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Okay. Any board comment? Questions? All right. All in favor of receiving our audit is completed?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Whiteside.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. See you next year. All right. Well, we saved you all from sitting through our whole meeting.
Who loves you?
So the chair did not prepare a report. I had a lot of questions about the building, but I'm going to let our ED go with that, and then I'll bring something back. Go ahead.
So ED report.
Yes.
Okay. Didn't you know so far? Two things I just wanted to highlight for sorry. And it's on. I just wanted to highlight to the board our community engagement. Since I've been here, and I know this was taking place before I got here, but since I have been here, I have been all over the county. It has been busy, but a beautiful experience to really be able to be out with members of our community to see the work that they are doing. And I just wanted to commend our staff. Elizabeth has always, she's out, she's at every chamber meeting, pulls me to the League of City meetings. She's at the events that we sponsor. And so I wanted to just really lift up the work that the trust is doing in terms of community engagement. Even with this past week, staff created an opportunity for folks working in the mentoring space to provide input to us about the RFP that's going out. I consider that community engagement. So really just wanted to say to staff, thank you for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it. And I know it's a lot sometimes, but it is good work. And I feel like we are getting great responses because of it. So thank you to staff for that. And then I know our chair is going to bring a thank you to our steering committee when we get there. But I thought I would be remiss as ED if I too did not say thank you to everybody engaged with our steering committee for the work that you did, for the time that you gave us, both board members and community members alike. We could not have gotten here without you, and you are truly appreciated. So with that, Madam Chair, that ends my report.
All right. Thank you, Director Tyner. And so I kind of want to go as part of my report. I don't really have a formal report, but I do. I wanted to thank staff for the work done, the steering committee that was done, and staff as well for participating, as I did earlier. But I think for us as a trust, we may on a future agenda kind of come back to the work product and the things that we want to do since we've had our strategic plan done, and maybe have another discussion about how we want to engage and partner with the other governmental agencies. You know, we had the joint meetings with the county and the school board. We hadn't met with the city of Gainesville yet, but I guess we'll probably try to get that. Yes, so I said school board and county. School board and county, but not the city of Gainesville. I think we were talking about doing that, but maybe since we've gone through, kind of wrapped up the process where with our strategic plan and gotten done with that, it may be something that we want to have another conversation or agenda item as to how we're going to collaborate and partner. It is a notation in one of the goals, I think goal 2, for how we would collaborate with other community partners and other agencies, governmental agencies. I would consider, I think somebody said, don't say municipalities, say. So we'll want to do that. But that's what I really wanted to maybe kind of we bring back up and we start to think about that, and staff maybe we figure out some kind of way of how we're gonna do that and what our next steps is with that literacy type thing since we have that. But I want to just kind of bring that back to the forefront so that we wouldn't get too far down on our list of things to do. But I think the trust is going to be entering into the pasture now that we have our guiding document and we have a path forward, I think. So that's all I have. Okay. All right. So Cheryl, you can.
Oh,
It
it doesn't want me.
There you go. There we go.
Okay. So we just spent 3.5 hours going through our strategic plan, and thank you everybody who was here and stayed through it, including you in the audience that were here for that. I think we are at a place where with a couple of edits, we're ready to move the strategic plan in front of the board for final consideration. So I think at this point, if someone wants to make a motion to that effect. Oh. As a committee motion? Okay. So I would like to chair recommend that with the edits that we discussed during the workshop that we propose adopting our strategic plan.
All right, it's been the committee chair, steering committee chair has brought forth the strategic plan that we just discussed for 3.5 hours, and Member Cornell just seconded. Is there any other public input? We may have some people in the audience that weren't here. Anyone from the public that'd like to have public comment on this particular agenda item? Any staff? I asked y'all earlier, we've heard from our ED and Christy. Anyone else? Anybody else on the board? I feel like I'm pulling teeth, but anyway, I'm not going to prolong the process. We ready to vote? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Like sign? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cheryl.
I can't now it wants off.
Leave it alone, man. Just leave it on. Thank you, Cheryl, and the team again for that work and getting us here where we are. I think we are now at our CFO. Bye-bye. Y'all be safe. And thank you for your work. Yeah. And they're out of Palm Beach. Oh, Cincinnati. Okay.
When she said it got dark and darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's dark. It is dark.
So what we have done here, I am going to walk. Did I do something wrong? It was up on the screen. I thought.
And Nancy, if you want to speak, please give Ashley or myself, okay? Speak up. So I'm not trying, my back is to you. So just let me know, okay?
Gotcha.
Well, when I saw the rate they were proposing, I said Lee's gonna be happy.
You'd have to increase. There's no increase. That's good for that. Yeah. Recommend going forward.
Okay. So I'm going to cover a good bit of our budget. We have some slides I wanted to highlight kind of the overview. And then if you all have specific questions, then Diana and Chrissy are going to pop in and help me out here. This is my first opportunity to provide a budget overview to the board. So bear with me if I stop and start again. We're going to start at the beginning, right? Our mission and our vision. Quite simply, we know this, that the trust funds and supports a coordinated system of community services that allows all youth and their families to thrive. The trust facilitates equitable access and opportunities for all children and families to ensure that every child reaches their maximum potential. We have prepared a budget for you with our goals, our priorities, and our community's needs in mind. Again, I want to thank Trust staff for their dedication and commitment to our mission. And I also would be remiss if I did not thank, and I know some of them are in the room, our providers for your input, rather directly or indirectly, because it also helped us with this process. So we have for you 3 options for our ad valorem revenues. They are the full or the maximum rate of 0.5, which would net us $10,022,500. Option 2, our current rate, 0.4612, which would net us $9,244,754. Marcia's got to get new glasses. And our rollback rate of 0.4015, which would bring in $8.4 million. Those are our 3 options. We recommend keeping our current millage rate. That would be an increase of 4.2% over our current year's budget revenues, and it would save our taxpayers a little over $777,000. When we look at our ad valorem revenues, the property appraisers' estimated gross taxable value has increased by 10.5%. TRIM requires an assumption of a 95% collection rate. And so that's how we get to our 4.2%. So I wanted to highlight for you some of the changes between last year's, or rather our current year's budget and our proposed budget. We took many things into consideration, including cost of living and environmental increases. For example, salaries and benefits. The proposed budget has a 2.4% increase to reflect a 6% annual increase for staff, a 6% increase in health benefits, and as our auditor just mentioned, costs are continuing to go up for FRS. So there are increases for our staff FRS based on their classifications. There is almost a $40,000 increase in training and per diem. I am a firm believer because I have benefited from it, from professional development. In this budget, we have budgeted for all staff to attend a conference or some type of training workshop for each of them to, if they would like, to seek a certificate and or a certification. So we've gone up in that particular area. I'm going to hit the increases and then I'll come back to the decrease. In promotional activities, you all know that we have a new communications manager coming on board in about a month and about a week, forgive me. And I cannot tell you how excited I am because one of my early things that I noticed about the trust when I got here was our visibility. If you work in this space, and if you are passionate about the space, you know about the trust. but a lot of folks in our county don't. And so we are going to be working on increasing our visibility, doing more with branding, creating some new materials, and then of course rolling out our strategic plan. And going back to our community and letting them know what we heard from them in terms of our listening project. So you're going to see a lot more from the trust in terms of how we communicate, where we communicate, and then of course our community engagement is rolled into our promotional activities. So ensuring that we are out and about, showcasing the best of the trust. Our building. You'll see that we have increased our building budget by $1 million. I will be providing you with a highlight, but I guess I can go ahead and mention it now. The building that we were hoping to close on has been contracted by someone else. We are still hopeful that we will close on a building before the end of this fiscal year, but if we should not, we wanted to put another $1 million in our capital fund because we know that most of the buildings that we are looking at that would be appropriate for the trust are costing more than $2 million. The decrease. There is a decrease in our professional services. This decrease is mostly due to our ending of our contract with CRI. Here, we also have our SAMUS project was put there. And then, of course, you all just finished hearing us talk about our strategic plan and the fact that there's still going to be a little work to do there. So we left some money in our program operations department so that if we want to bring someone in to help us evaluate how we're doing with our strategic planning, we can. This next slide is really a visual of what I just said to you. Legislatively, you'll see that there's a decrease. Again, that's the ending of contracts for our listening project and our strategic plan. You'll see an increase in the executive area. That's due to more travel, meetings, increase in our FRS contributions. Under administrative, and the blue is 23, the orange is 24. Under administrative cost, those are fairly nominal. However, they do include a building, repairs, maintenance, building liability insurance, all of those things that we currently are not paying for, but we would should we buy a new building. And then our programmatic increases. Here, that's where that staff development and training would be, the promotional activities that I mentioned, and also our Pritzker funding will be ending this year. And so we will be absorbing the cost for our Pritzker fellow to our salaries and benefits in this area. Here, you'll see our general fund. And our general fund, right, has basically everything encompassed in it. And these are just visuals to go with the pages in your budget book. Budget by fund. You'll see general fund down by 11.4%. Our special revenue, that's Pritzker, you'll see it down by 139%. The literacy task force. I'm sorry, Lee.
Can I
Yes.
ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Why did the general fund go down if we're getting more ad valorem taxes?
Well, the general fund is going down because we have the building, not our capital project.
That's general, the
General fund is going down due to our decrease with our funds for CRI, our external accounting. And then Diana, what are those other items in that area?
There are professional services and we look at
These are expenses, Lee,
oh,
not revenue. This is.
Yeah, these are
Okay,
our expenses.
okay, all right. Okay, that answers.
Yeah. Is this in the book? Because I don't have this.
So this is just highlighting.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I was like, wait a minute, I
highlighting what
missed
is
that. I'm
in
sorry.
your book. And I was supposed to go tell you by page, so I apologize. But if you go to, I don't have this one listed, but the budget by fund in the back of the budget book.
Visuals. of
Yeah.
Reports that have a lot of numbers. So rather than try to interpret those numbers, this is what it looks like.
What page are it? Are the basic numbers? I was trying to figure out where is the overall.
I think 172. I think
So,
172, I think. Is it 172?
There's things on 170.
Yeah, 173.
Now look at your.
Thank you. Finance administration, a little bit and.
Would you turn your mic on, Diana? Would you turn your mic on, please?
Revenue all funds. So starting on page 173, every slide that I've talked through.
Okay.
My problem is, I can't see that. That's something we're relying on, I can't see that. To be able to see that. Maybe for the.
No, I'm having the same issue.
Go down because we didn't.
So this particular slide is on page 172. You'll see these
No.
by fund. So this highlights the general fund
Go down.
as compared to 23 to 24. Et cetera, et cetera. You'll see that we now have a literacy fund that we're funding.
Mhm.
And that's barely there because it's only 40,000. And we also have the capital project fund, which is a little bit higher because we're not sure that $2 million is enough for a building.
Mhm.
And all of that is depicted on that little summary on page 172 at the bottom. But probably easier to understand in the visual.
So Diana, would you please do me and Lee a favor with the 1,230,000? Would you tell us what that decrease is?
The million to,
For the general fund,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
I didn't hear.
I didn't hear anything y'all just said.
The decrease is caused by, we're reducing the amount of money that we're giving to the programs, offset in that, which was about what, 1.6.
Right.
But then there have been increases, so you come up with that number.
Madam Finance Director.
a lot of the decreases have to do with all of the professional services that we're no longer funding next year that we're currently funding. And that has to do with strategic planning, community tour facilitation, CRI. Oh, that is a huge chunk of it.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Program funding. So this should take you to the back page in the budget book. There you go. Is there a page at the bottom? Yes, that one. So here I wanted to highlight for you.
Page 180.
180.
180.
Yeah, 180.
Okay, so it's just a compilation of all that.
It is.
Magnifying glass.
We're trying to get it all on one page.
Actually, we're okay with 2 pages. I get the one, but
Okay, just fine.
She just
Go one.
condensed it.
And here's why we specifically wanted to cover this. we have 6 programs now ending in March of 24 in Goal 1. We will have 3 programs ending in June of 24 in Goal 1. So you'll see a reduction in the funding in Goal 1. Goal 2, we'll have 4 programs ending in March of 22. And then we'll still have full funding for our summer programs, our enrichment, and our after-school programs for next year. Goal 3, we have 2 programs ending in March of 24, and Goal 4 will have 2 programs ending in March of 24. So you'll see why there is a bit of a reduction based on what we've done thus far.
And there won't be any more funding for those programs after that?
Well, now that we have a strategic plan, we can come back to the board with some recommendations to you of some things to fund, right? But for all intents and purposes for this budget for today, we needed to show you where we are and what we're budgeting as of now.
So this is what you already know you're gonna be. spending,
Correct.
Not what we could do.
Correct.
So the bottom, that total unallocated at the very, very bottom, which in the replacement page that is at our seats,
The
as
6
I'm
million.
seeing it, it's looking like we'll have just shy of $1 million
In this area.
in this area to allocate to any of those goal areas. Am I reading it correctly?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we just highlighted on the bottom the last items that you all approved here this spring, the emergent need, the mentorship, certainly the continuation of our community and engagement, and then social emotional learning. We didn't put a dollar amount next to that, not that we don't want to continue it. We just felt that there would be remaining dollars from left over from this year that could fund that.
Question.
Yes, go ahead, Member Cornell.
So, Marcia, is a goal now to take these 4 goals, now that we've approved the strategic plan, which calls for migration to 50% funding for our number 1 goal, which is healthy at all ages. And then our number 2 goal, 35% is a goal, is the idea that today is our tentative budget, but before we adopt the final budget, you'll come back to us after staff has a chance.
Correct.
Is that? Okay. All right.
Okay, fund balance summary, and you all should have received an updated fund balance with a pretty little pie chart.
Yes.
So we began the year with $11,444,552. Total revenue through May was $9 million. I'm just going to say 9.6. Expenditures through May, $4 million. Encumbrances through the end of May, another $4 million. And then our estimated expenditures from now until the end of the year is a little over $6 million. So you will see an estimated unallocated fund balance of $6.7 million.
Question. Does the 2 million for the building, is that included in the encumbrances, Diana?
No, because at the time of preparing this, we had a contract to sell the building. So we're assuming here that we are not going to have 2 million at the end of the year.
So is the fund balance unallocated now 8.7 or is it 6.7?
It's going to be 8,
Because you're adding that 2 million.
correct?
Okay.
If we don't sell the building.
If we don't buy,
Buy
the-
the-
if we don't buy,
We don't buy the building.
So that's okay. So said another way, that 2 million is included in the encumbrances of 4.259 because you're deducting it out of fund balance.
No, encumbrances have to do with all of the providers' contracts that we have.
Okay. So then is it in that 6,082,000? The estimated
The 2 million is not in the 6.7 because we just learned that we do not have
so
So it's
the building.
it's in the 6,082,575 estimated expenditures coming out when it shouldn't be. Probably. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, gonna move on. We're almost at the end of my prepared pieces, and then we will open it up for additional questions, you all. It was helpful to me to think about what our taxpayers would really be looking at, right? If we have an average assessed home of $200,000, what would the cost be to the taxpayer? So if the taxpayer has a homestead exemption of $50,000, with our current rate, that person would pay $69.18, right? With the full half mil, they would pay $75. Without the homestead exemption, with our current millage rate, their pay would be what, $92 and change, and then the half mil, it would be $100. So are we talking a lot of money? No, but if you are on a fixed income, if you are a single parent, then we are talking a significance. So I think that's important for us as we think through what the actual millage rate will be. And then lastly, this is my ask of you, but I'll stop before we get here and see if there are additional questions.
That's one question.
Yes, sir.
Slide,
Yes.
2 slides back, the one where you had the encumbrances and expenditures. No, you went.
I went past it.
Go forward to. There you go.
Okay,
That
thank
one.
you.
It says encumbrances through May 31st, 2023. Okay. So encumbrances just mean that the way y'all are classifying, we spent $4 million. We expect to spend another $4 million plus through the encumbrances, and then you expect to spend another $6 million June through September.
I believe that's correct, Diana.
That's correct. The encumbrances are actual contracts that were signed and committed and put in the budget.
For instance, an example would be like right now, we just kicked off our summer programs, correct?
Correct.
So on page, may I?
Yes, sir.
On page 172, you'll see the 23 adopted budget.
Was it $14 million?
Yeah, because it's 12 plus 2.
Okay.
You got 12 million general fund adopt, and then 2 million of the capital. So that's 14. So that's
What page? What page?
172. So that 14 million is the 4, 4, and the 6.
Thanks, Ken.
So just some general, so are you done, Lee? Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in general, I'll just make some general comments. So I am in favor of leaving the millage static. That is considered a tax increase, but it's not. The rollback rate would be a non-tax increase, but I am not in favor of raising it up, which would be a more substantial tax increase. I think the strategic plan, if anything, identified that we have significant needs throughout the community. So I am in favor of keeping the tentative millage rate, which is what it currently is, which if we pass that today, we can't really go up because we have to retrim. So that's kind of the decision we kind of make at today's meeting is we can go down, but we can't kind of go up. So I'm in favor of trimming the existing millage rate. I guess we could always lower it. I am also in favor of increasing the $1 million for capital, for $3 million for the building. One thing that I haven't talked to the ED about, though, is I'm not really in favor of reducing programming 1.6 million. I think we've got to, well, I guess the only place for that would be fund balance. We've got to think about in my opinion, that the programming should not go down while we're adding more money to our capital, in my opinion. I think that, I'm going to hear Lee say this is one-time money. We shouldn't be using it for recurring expenses.
Now you may beat me to it.
But my offset to that is I think we're going to continue to see an increase in valuations. I think by the time we get building down our fund balance, I think we're going to be fine on that argument. I also think that we're shifting our programming in some ways. And so if we are shifting our programming and we're reducing our programming, it's like a double whammy for me, and I'm just not comfortable with that. So I'm going to ask if we get a consensus that when staff brings back kind of the final budget, that we add some more money to our programming. I don't know if we can do $1.7 million, but I'm just not comfortable with the $1.6 million reduction in programming. So that's my feedback.
Go ahead, Member Levine.
So I was right there with you, just right there with you until the very last piece. And I guess for me, the question,
Like the tentative millage rate.
the millage rate. So we are changing priorities, and I get your point about if we're making a transition, I would need a little bit more assurance about how we're transitioning and that we're not just doing an automatic continuation funding without really rethinking what we're asking of providers to start moving us in the direction of this transition. So until I see a little bit more, and I know we have to approve a budget. So I would be okay with that as an unallocated because we can always choose not to expend it. But I would not end up supporting it if we don't have a clear beginning of an implementation plan that sets us up for making a transition, both in the types of programs that we fund and also what we're asking of those programs. Because I think we need to move away from just program thinking and outcome thinking, goal thinking, measurement thinking, impact thinking. Otherwise, we're just building capacity for what exists already rather than going back to our change the lake. We're not going to change the lake just by continuing to do what we've been doing. I get it. It's a transition. I'm willing to have some flexibility around that. But I want to see some progress toward what we're looking to get out of the programs we're funding.
So, go ahead.
I'm millage rate, I'm good with. I fought that battle and we saved about 400,000, but we added 1.6 to the program. So and maybe I should have just shut up with the 0.5, but anyway. Before we say, before we say that we think that it looks like the what's happening as far as the added money into our general fund might happen, is there a way that you might have a conversation with the property appraiser to see what's happening with permits and or whoever in the county to see what's happening as far as the amount of additional income we might see in the future? It's very premature, but they can give you an idea about what they think is happening as far as construction in the county.
Okay.
Because I'm sure it's probably cooled a little bit with the interest rates going down or up, excuse me.
Okay.
What about that? But okay. See the building going.
Yeah, well, that's old past stuff. Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything?
And then
for
we
it?
can argue about the rest of it as we go through the budget cycle. So
That's why I said I was okay with unallocated.
So, the 0.4015, I'm not comfortable with that.
Saying keep the millage rate.
I like
Yeah.
to keep it where it is, the 0.462,
Right.
the 2223. And for a couple of the reasons that Ken said, increase in capital costs. We also have an increase really in our operational costs because of everything going on, inflation going up. And so to say we're going to decrease our programming that significantly, $1 million is a lot of money. we have significant needs in our community, and you mentioned Director Kiner about Riker closing. So those children that were being served by Riker are now, if we're wise as a community, some other provider is going to have to absorb those children.
Right.
All right. And I say if we're wise, we would provide the funding and have space and to do that. And that though, so that they don't spill over and cost us money in other ways that the county would have to then fund. Okay. So there's going to be some cost to us on one end or the other. And I think we make the investment in our youth, the children and youth, so that we can benefit them personally, but our community as a whole. And I think if we are absorbing, which we have the resources to do the increase in operational costs, I mean, it's going to cost more money to run this organization for, the travel and all the things you said. And I just don't feel, I think if we do that, we make the investment in our students. And I think also we have to transition to this different model since we just completed the strategic plan. But we have organizations, they have infrastructure and believe it or not, even though it hasn't been as much funding as organizations would like to have received, the funding that they've gotten from the trust has helped them to build organizations and to serve the students and to rip that out like that and to make it kind of be where somebody's not going to get funded, or in which they probably still won't, but where they lose that type of funding that drastically. I think it would just be a shock to our community. And then I know it's not the trust's responsibility to fill in the gaps for other areas, but Cheryl can probably tell you how many with the United Way Community Investment Committee, the payroll deductions for United Way funds, they probably had like 5 times the request of donations that they had. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was, I think it was at least 5 times as much. Last time it was about 3 to 3.5 to 4, but I think it was 5 times the request. Grant requests than the funding that they had available. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but the United Way's funding has taken a big hit, and the organizations and just the money is just not there, but the needs and all are there for our community. So I'm in favor of leaving. And then if we come back and you get a revised number from the property appraiser that says that there's more new property coming on and the rates, values have gone up and a rollback rate that could generate the same amount of revenue, I'd be okay with rolling it back. But the thing is, I don't want us to lower it now and not be able to, we can't raise it anymore. We can only go lower from this point from today. I want to keep the trend the same. Okay. Yes.
Okay. I was like, are you saying you want to keep it?
No, I'm saying I want to keep it the same because right now, if we roll it back and we go lower, we can't raise it anymore. So I think it just behooves us to stay.
And our recommendation was to keep, our recommendation was to keep it the same. It was not to do the rollback.
Cost about 800,000 last year. So.
Yes, I'll use that.
All right.
Second.
All right. It's been moved by Member Cornell, second by Member Pinkerson. Is there any?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy.
I'm sorry, Nancy. I'm sorry. Nancy.
I just saw you waving your hands, Nancy.
All right, Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, I do have a comment. I can support leaving the millage rate the same as it was last year, but when it comes to figuring out how much, if any, money to pull out of our reserves to fill in gaps, I really think today is the day we begin to think in concert with our strategic plan. So I'm opposed to just using money to give providers the money they're used to getting. I think they have to be part of the strategic plan, and our funding decisions need to be in concert with the strategic plan.
All right. Thank you.
I want to clarify my comments. I am 100% with you, Nancy, that today is the day we start thinking like the strategic plan. And I'm not for continuation funding, but I'm also not for cutting the funding. I'm for continuing the amount of money being spent in the way that our strategic plan is telling us to spend it. And that's that. I'm not for continuation funding. I just want to clarify that.
You best believe whatever those goals are that we just adopted, there are organizations that are providing services and they're going to make their grant application fit to whatever the goals we are. I mean, they're already doing the work, right? So that's not continuation of funding, and there's going to be a demand that's there, I think.
Yeah.
Is there anyone from the public that'd like to speak to the motion? Anyone from the public? All right. If there's anyone else after Miss Christie, if you come on, queue up for us.
Hi there, Christy Harrington, Executive Director of Girls Place. I appreciate the advocacy because I think in serving on the steering committee that yes, there are providers, but there are people who are investing in our community, making systemic changes. And so limiting that right now is a little scary in the sense that if you don't limit it, if you increase it, as Ken has said, then it allows more flexibility in how we carry out the strategic plan.
Thank you. Anyone else? Once before we bring it back, all right, we'll bring it back to the board. We're ready. Okay, Judge Farrell.
This is something I'm allowed to vote on.
Nope, you can't vote on the millage.
Can I vote on this or no?
Nope.
What's up, millage, not budget?
Well, there's a village.
Green, can I speak on green?
Yes.
Yes. The, you can't vote on millage.
I know, that's why it's sort of
And-
combined, right?
We'll separate.
And,
We'll separate the motion.
I would recommend you not vote on budget because budget creates a millage, but the specific statute says millage.
I move that we'll split it. We'll just split it.
That's fine. We can split it. I want to, so we're back at discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to vote for the motion that I made, which is staff's recommendation.
That's good.
But I'm going to fight very hard to change the tentative budget. And I just want to be very clear about that because I'll just say that. So we'll talk more when we get into our budget deliberations. And
That we will.
yeah, that we will. Okay, all right.
Just to be clear, the current motion is simply on the millage rate,
On
which
the
is the
millage.
staff recommendation. Correct?
And tentative motion and the tentative budget.
Okay, so
Tentative budget.
I
But
thought we
our,
had to split them because otherwise Judge
We are.
Ferrero can vote on one, but not the other.
The chair can do that.
Not vote on either, so you might as well just keep them together.
Okay.
It's tentative.
all right, so the motion is to remove staff recommendation for the millage as well as the tentative budget.
You're
So
gonna split it. We'll do the millage first.
No, we're not.
we're not splitting it because
She can abstain.
Attorney Bob has told her, yeah, he's recommended she not vote on either one of them. The final budget afterwards.
But I thought she couldn't abstain. You can't abstain.
I can abstain on this, so this is an area where I can.
She's not permitted to vote by law.
On the
Right, on the
millage.
millage, but on the tentative budget, she can't abstain, right?
No, the question is whether or not you can vote on the budget separate from the millage. The budget creates a millage.
Right.
Therefore, if you can't vote on the millage, you should not be able to vote on the
Well,
budget.
they've been voting on the budget.
I understand that, and that judge and I had a disagreement in legal
That's
opinion.
fine.
And she's a judge and she's a lawyer and she decided what she
She
would.
can make a case, right?
And I
She's
made,
not talking about me.
no,
Yeah, okay.
no. And I made my recommendation and Judge Ferraro can
Okay,
do as she sees fit.
thank you.
Okay, so Judge Ferraro, you're gonna abstain from both the
Yes.
budget and the millage? All right, so all in favor of adopting the staff recommendation for the tentative millage and the budget? Aye? Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Okay, so everyone voted.
One
actually,
abstain.
Except Judge Ferraro abstaining, so motion passes. All right, thank you. Director Kiner. I think that was it, right? You got anything else? Remember,
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, ma'am.
Okay. We got to get used to like speaking in the mics.
I know.
I got to find my agenda.
But it was really helpful. I think the mics actually are
They are very helpful and I don't know what took us so long to get them, huh? Yep. Thank you all. Who was the genius who thought to bring in Mr. Mike? Ashley? Look at there. Thank you, Ashley. All right. Is there any member requests? Any board member requests? We're at the And remember, Director Khan has already given us an update on the building. You have anything else you want to add on that, or we're good? Okay. Excuse me, any general public comment before we move to board member requests or board member comments? Okay, all right, any board members have requests or comments?
Thank y'all very much for all that you did today,
Okay,
including the chair.
all right, I'm gonna give myself a 4. All right. Thanks for the blueberries. Thank you for the blueberries. How you got 2 bags, Cam?
I
Oh.
really want to see the battle between the judge and remember, she's a judge, Ken.
Sorry, motion to adjourn. I thank you all for everybody for coming. All right, we're adjourned. All right, thank you, staff and everyone.
Sure. I know.